Hello everyone, it's Taylor, and today I'm here with my very first ever Shop My Stash video. I am not going to do this Shop My Stash in the way that most people do it on YouTube. I am not gonna take my camera and put it over my collection and kind of sort through things that way. I would rather go through some of the things that I was using last month, talk about why I was using them, what I thought of them, and then show you the things I've already picked out to use next month and why I've picked them out. This is very much the format that Hannah Louise Poston uses in her Shop My Stash videos, and I just think it's the most effective, and I think you get more information about the products and a little bit of a review of the products that I was using previously. So I'm gonna go ahead and do it that way. So first, let's talk about the products that I was using in my makeup basket last month. Little caveat, I'm not going to go through my Project Pan items in these videos, which can make them maybe a little bit on the shorter side, because if you don't know, I'm doing the hashtag Team Project Pan, which is like one item per category of the face, so powder, foundation, concealer, yada yada yada. And I'm also doing a pseudo pan that palette where I have a large, actually an extra large Z palette filled with individual eyeshadows that I'm working on hitting certain goals this year. So those products I won't mention every time at the start of these videos. I will, however, mention any relevant, not mention, what am I saying? I will link down below any relevant Project Pan updates, intros, those types of things. So that little caveat over, let's go into the stuff I used last month. By far the standout product of the month, the Too Faced Sweet Tea Bronzer. I have thoroughly enjoyed using this bronzer. It's not shimmery, but it has a gorgeous, like, glowing sheen to it, and it's the perfect color for me right now. It just really has made my wintertime skin look alive and awake. But I do have other bronzers that I would like to cycle through, so I'm going to go ahead and put this back in the collection for this month. Next up is this Hourglass Ambient Lighting Palette. I apologize for the reflection, it's just the nature of this packaging. And it has 3 powders in here, and they're meant to be 3 face powders, I believe. However, I almost have to use this one as like a bronzer. It's very warm, but it's too dark to use all over my face, as well as even this one alone is too dark to use all over my face, so I almost have to combine these two to get an appropriate face powder. I don't use these as my sole setting powder. I still use a pressed powder to set my face, but if I feel that I'm looking just a little bit too cakey, that's right, I'm gonna put more powder on top, and it will be in the form of one of these glowy powders. So I got some use out of it, not great use in January, but I am gonna go ahead and put it back into my collection for now and try out some other things for the coming month. Something I have also been using recently is this ColourPop Super Shock Cheek Highlighter Dealio in the shade Fanny Pack, and this is like a white as white gets. It's gorgeous. It is a fantastic color, but I think I'm coming to terms with the fact that this might be too white and too glittery for me, and that bothers me enough that I'm gonna put it back in my collection until I can solidify like how I'm feeling about it. I am attached enough to this product that I don't want to keep using it and, you know, really cement the fact that I don't think it's right for me. I want to live in denial a little while longer and put it back into my collection, and maybe like take it out at a different part of the year. I will say that right now, even though it's January, I'm more tan than I've ever been in the wintertime. Like, I think in the last 10 years. I played water polo and I did swim in high school, so I was very tan in high school. These days, I'm lucky to get like one glimpse of the sun, so I'm generally very pale. However, I think maybe February, March, maybe I'll hit my peak pale. So maybe I'll revisit this in March if I'm feeling up to it. Something I was using in January, but not getting a ton of use out of, I think I used it twice, is this MAC pigment in the shade Rose. Yes, the Rose pigment. And I like it, but there's a shade from my Jaclyn Hill Morphe palette that I depotted that is like damn near identical and even looks better on the lid than this pigment does. So I was drawn to using that shade out of my Z palette over using this. But when I did remember to use it, I enjoyed it. The only downside is I used to use these MAC pigments a lot when I had Fix Plus in my life. I don't purchase Fix Plus anymore, but I do still have these pigments hanging around. I have 3, I think. So I need to find a solution. I need to find like a cruelty-free MAC Fix Plus dupe that I can, basically a glycerin spray to use to kind of bind that pigment together to put it on my eye and get the best look out of it. Aside from my Z palette that I'm working on panning, I did also have a supplemental eyeshadow palette in my everyday makeup basket this month, and that is the Too Faced, and I believe this is the Tickled Peach. Yes, it is. I remember the name. I've forgotten the name of this product every time I've gone to mention it so far on my channel. But I just remembered it, so that's exciting now that I'm putting it away. This is the Tickled Peach here, and I really like this color assortment. It's obviously not super diverse. You can only create so many looks with it, but it's something I anticipate wanting to take on the road with me when I travel, and it's right up my alley. Like, the tones are perfect for me. The lid shades, like the shimmery metallic lid shades, are fantastic. The matte shades are great as well. The only shade I didn't get a ton of use out of is this, where is it? This purple here. But other than that, I used all of the other shadows at least once or twice. Some of them even more than that. The matte brown, here it is, the like transition soft crease shade in there is absolutely flippin' stunning. I love it. So this one is kind of hard for me to put away, but I have so much eyeshadow in my collection that I'm gonna swap it out and try some other things for February. Moving on to my new items, or the items that I have shopped my stash for this shopping trip, if you will. The items that I'm moving into my everyday makeup basket for the month of February. And one of them is a primer, and this is the Coconut Skin Smoothie Priming Moisturizer. I don't even know if this is on the market yet. I don't know if this is on the market any longer, but it smells great. And when I've swatched it on my hand, it's beautiful and has a nice glow to it. I also like, I don't think either there is not a ton of product in here, or I've used it up previously. I don't know. We'll see how much is left in here, and maybe I can use it up in February and get one of the sample size primers out of my collection. I am currently working on panning the Flower Beauty Light Illusion foundation, and even though I have the lightest shade they make, it is still too dark and too yellow for my complexion. I could be willing to overlook the yellow undertone because there's a lot you can do to correct undertones when they're not totally perfect. However, the darkness is just a little too much to continue using it on its own. So I am bringing in this CoverGirl Made Matte, True Blend Made Matte Foundation, or Matte Made, whatever it is. I have not had this foundation too long, maybe a couple of months. But it is the lightest foundation in my collection currently, and I have used like so much of that. I will definitely be repurchasing this when I have a chance to. Right now, this one is too light to wear on its own, and the Flower Beauty is too dark to wear on its own. So I'm going to mix the two together to create a foundation cocktail. I would like to try this completely on its own. I just have to get a shade that works for me, which I don't think will be a problem, because if you've seen the shade range for this, it's pretty extensive, and I think that's awesome for a drugstore, well, actually for any foundation, but especially a drugstore foundation. And CoverGirl's cruelty-free now, so props to CoverGirl. And this one will be on my face a lot in February. I did not have a separate blush in my stash for January, aside from the one that I am currently working on panning. However, I don't want to use that every day. I'm totally cool using it like a majority of the days, but I don't want to burn out or like fail my project pan because I've grown to hate that blush. So I am going to bring in a blush for February, and it is going to be the Sigma Beauty Aura Powder in Pet Name. And this, as you can tell just by seeing it on the screen, is quite light, but it is probably the only time of year that I'm going to be able to pull this color off. It's just a really nice, super soft peach with a little bit of pink in it. It's matte, so it doesn't have any sheen. It's just like nice, like a little bit of like, not rosy flush, but like peachy flush to your cheeks. So I'm excited to get a little bit more use out of that while I can before, you know, the next couple months roll around and I'm too dark for this blush. Never thought I'd be able to say that. So I just filmed my If I Could Only Keep One tag video, and I mentioned the Mary Luminizer highlight in that video, and talking about it really made me have the itch to use it. So this is it here. It's just a great everyday, like, can't be beat highlighter. So I'm excited to pull this one into my collection and see how much use I can get out of it. I am panning a highlighter, Becca Moonstone, for my year-long project pan. However, I don't know if you can see, like right in the middle, I have a little bit of a dip. I don't think you can see it, but I'm wondering if I can maybe hit pan in February. We shall see. Giving up my Too Faced Sweet Tea Baked Bronzer was borderline painful, because that just is like the gold standard of shimmering, glowy bronzers. But I do have a bronzer in my collection, which in my collection video, I did admit that I had never worn on my face, and it is the Butter Bronzer in the shade Sunkissed. And it's not as sheeny, or it doesn't appear to be as sheeny. I don't know why I keep saying sheeny, like it's a word. It has a much more subtle glow to it than the Too Faced one, but I'm still going to give it a go and see what I think about it. I've swatched it before, but I have never worn it on the face, so I'm excited to try this. Finishing out this Shop My Stash video, I have two eyeshadow palettes that cannot be more different from each other. They're both Too Faced. One is the Peanut Butter and Jelly palette, and one is the Natural Eyes palette. I really enjoy the Too Faced eyeshadow formula, especially when they're like new and fresh. This one is not super fresh, but I still love the color selection in this palette. It's just like everything I could ever need, except that purple. That purple does nothing for me. It's like I don't know why Too Faced insists on doing like a matte shadow with glitter in every one of their palettes, and literally anyone who talks about those colors is like, they're so bad, I hate them. But Too Faced keeps doing them, so I guess they feel they're doing something right. But anyway, tangent over. This is just such a nice, warm eyeshadow look deal. And it's got the basics. It's got your lid setting shade. It's got this, I love this sort of soft peach. It does have a little bit of a shimmer through it, but when you tap off your brush, it just, like, the glitter kicks off, and it's just like a soft peach that I can use to really blow out or blend out transition colors. And in complete contrast to that, the Natural Eyes is probably the coolest palette in my entire collection. It's like so cool. Cool in undertone. I got this as an anniversary present 2 years ago now, I think. And I haven't used it enough to totally figure out how I feel about this. Again, you've got not one, but two matte with glitters in here, and that's Chocolate Martini and Erotica, which, like, why Too Faced? But this shade here in Nudie is just like, I don't even know. It just makes me, it makes me feel like I love cool tones, but I don't love cool tones. I've never loved cool tones, but I'm willing to love cool tones for this shadow right here. So maybe I'll get a couple cool looks. If you were playing a drinking game while I just explained that palette and you were looking for the buzzword cool, you're probably drunk by now, but don't play drinking games. They're not good for you. Anyway, I'm really excited to get some more use out of this palette this coming month and really firming up my opinion on it, seeing if it's something I do need to keep in my collection or maybe something that I can pass on to someone who enjoys a less warm eye than I do. Okay, so that wraps up the Shop My Stash pickings for February. I'm really excited with some of the items I've chosen to take me into the next month. As I've said in some of my previous videos, my goal for this no-buy year is, one, obviously not to buy things, but two, just to get to know everything in my collection and challenge myself with the looks that I'm trying to create, eye looks, overall makeup looks, things like that. For example, this sort of pink shadow situation I've got going on is something that I definitely wouldn't wear on the everyday, but knowing that I was going to be filming today, I sat down and did it, and I could not be more in love with it. So I'm really liking it, and I am excited to continue to push my makeup boundaries and to try some new to my everyday makeup basket products this month. If you've made it to the end of this video, thank you so much for watching. Comment down below and let me know if you're doing any Shop My Stash type situations, if you're rotating through makeup on a monthly basis, and maybe some things that you're going to be using for February. Let me know and we can absolutely chat about them. Again, just thank you for watching. Thank you for supporting me. I am loving this journey that we are on together, and until next time, I will see you later.